Okay, welcome back. This is Sec 1, Chapter 4, Topic 3, Part 2. Okay. So in this particular set of slides, this accompanies the earliest video that you have watched for the earlier part of this section here. So we will be continuing on the journey to evaluate how some of these strategies that some countries have taken, okay, both Singapore and other countries, to sustainably manage water resources. So to start things off, let's look at some of these how they improve their water technology to help their cause in terms of becoming more sustainable. Okay, science and research is one of the key areas, and in terms of technology, what we are looking for are a few key things like water purification, okay, water recycling, as well as desalination of seawater. I think it's very important to note that seawater is very, very ample in supply. However, the nature of seawater in terms of its impurities and the very, very high salt content makes it very unsuitable for human consumption and actually used in most human industries and for agriculture. So there is a great need for this process of desalination, and if this can be done actually easily or with a low cost, this can provide or rather unlock a very, very large pool of water for human consumption and use. So this technology actually allows many parts of the world to then, if they have technology like this, they can then gain more access to drinking water, right, in spite of their location, their climate, and some of the geographical attributes that they have. Okay? Like if their country is largely desert bound, right, or if they are in very highland areas with actually very little fresh water, surface fresh water that's available, right? So these are things that can go in and help. So let's look at, in terms of Singapore, right? Using Singapore as a base, what are some of these things that we have looked at before? So I want to bring you back to the concept of NEWater, right? When we went to the NEWater plant to do the visit, okay, with technology, we've actually been able to do two things with water, right? We can recycle our wastewater and get rid of all the impurities to the point where it's super clean. We can also do the same for salt water, for seawater, and that is called desalination using the reverse osmosis method. Okay, so being an island surrounded by the sea, it's actually very natural that we actually look for desalination as one of these ideas. Okay, so using the same I repeat, the same technology, this is very important, same tech as NEWater. Right, I believe if you were paying attention during our learning journey to NEWater plant, the Dawsons, the guides, would have actually mentioned that there are plants in Singapore that specifically deal with desalination using the exact same technology as the NEWater plant. Okay, so the process here, once again, this is useful for you to know. Right, so I'm going to put 2 stars here. Please go and review this. This is available in both your textbook as well as in the SLS guide. Right, so key things, right? They use the concept of reverse osmosis, right? Using filtration, okay, filtration, ultrafiltration membranes as well. Okay, so you get from seawater all the way to fresh water. Let's put this in. This is the end. This is the source. Right, so this magical process actually converts unusable water in the form of seawater into usable water in the form of fresh water. But there is one big issue with this. This is very, or rather still rather expensive. Okay, so it takes a certain amount of willpower that the government must have and a certain amount of money that the government must hold in reserves for them to be able to use this as a tool to improve the water sustainability of their country. Right, so this, some details about this are good to know. If you had paid a lot of attention during the NEWater visit, you have heard some of these numbers before, right? Key things like 30%. Okay, currently 30% of our water supply comes from NEWater. Okay, drinkable, right, is distributed into our reservoirs, not directly pumped in, right, but the most common use in Singapore is, of course, for our industries. Okay, right, desalination also, starting in 2005, around there, right, it provides 10%, less than NEWater. NEWater, remember, is 30%. Okay, so this is one of the tools that we try to bring in to resolve our water shortage issues. And as a result of this, right, we are now able to, because we are now a hub for science and technology with water recycling and desalination, we are actually contributing and selling this technology to other countries. For example, China. Okay, are we the only one? Actually, no. There are other countries who have other sort of technology that come in to reduce water usage. So in terms of in America, right, this case study is Kern County in America, which is one of the oil producing countries. Okay, one top oil producing country. In America is one of the top oil producing countries. So they need to spend a lot of money in the process of extracting crude oil, right? A lot of water is used for cooling and for all sorts of purposes. But this water cannot be released immediately because it has been contaminated. So what have they done? They have used a system similar to our new water for purification of these wastewater. So when they are able to purify this wastewater, once it's treated, the water can be released back into nature without causing harm to nature itself. Right, so what are some advantages? Of course, you have more water that can be harvested. That's very important. So your total amount of water that you can get will be larger. Okay, it gives countries like Singapore ability to be more self-reliant. So you do not depend on other countries selling you water, because to be very fair, if you do depend largely on buying water from someone else, what if your relationships with that particular person are no longer as good as it was in the past, right? Or in the process of an argument, would you really want to have such a vital resource being held against you, right, as a bargaining chip? So this is a very important thing in terms of country, right? Singapore is a perfect example of this. Okay, then with the implementation of this technology, now your water is no longer seasonal dependent. It's no longer I'm waiting for the monsoons to come so the wells get topped up, so my groundwater resources get topped up, or I'm waiting for snow melt so my rivers get topped up, and so on and so forth. With this, if it doesn't get topped up, if my reserves are running low, I just revert to using things like new water, and then as a result I will have more. So earlier on we talked about disadvantages. This is very important. Right, these two numbers, if you can, it would be good to retain this. This is how much it actually costs. This gives you an idea. 830 million is, okay, let's think of something that would be relatable to you. Okay, so I'm going to put it this way. 830 million, right, is 830 very, very big HDB flats. And HDB flats actually don't cost $1 million. Most of the time, they are actually cheaper than $1 million. Right, 830 HDB flats is like a block. The amount of money they can use to buy maybe a block, no, actually a precinct of HDB flats. Right, so that's how much of a volume we're looking at in terms of monetary value. Okay. However, some of these technologies do require large amounts of energy. So the energy also has cost besides the tech itself. The energy to propel the tech also adds into the cost. So this is really a very, very expensive thing to do, right? And thirdly, most of these solutions require high skill labor, which is also very expensive. Okay, very expensive to hire, right? And there's a great competition for highly skilled labor in this industry. So they are really, really rare, and they get very high salary, and a lot of countries are actually fighting for them. Now, importing water is, of course, the easiest way. Okay, the easiest way out. Buying from neighboring countries is an easy resource. So if you think about Singapore and our neighboring country of Malaysia, we have had many, we have had 3 contracts across back to when we were founded, dealing with the sale of raw water to us. Okay, as a way to top up our internal water supply, which is lacking. So the latest one is going to expire soon, but as of the latest contract with Malaysia to buy water is going to expire soon. But our workaround is that we now have new water. Okay, but if of course, if Malaysia is able and willing to continue to sign a new contract with us to sell us water, I'm very sure we will continue to buy water from them, because buying water from Malaysia is going to be more cost efficient than making more new water. So I want to remind you once again, the earlier slides that we looked at, right? This part here, new water is very, very expensive to produce. It is endless once you have the system in place. Right, you can harness seawater, you can harness wastewater, you have an endless supply of new water. But it is very expensive. So comparing cost for cost, right, pound for pound against things like importing water, I think new water is not exactly the best solution. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, actually, if you can read the NLB article with the link below here, you will see that actually we have had 4 agreements. Okay, the first one is signed in 1927, is expired, no longer in force. The other 3 signed in 61, 62, and 90 meet about half of our demands. Okay, but when the 61 one expired in 2011, right, we decided that we have to be self-sufficient, and so we turned towards using technology. Okay, the final one will expire in 2061. Now we are in the 2024. So within your lifetime, you will see the final agreement expire. Hopefully, before it actually expires, Singapore can work with Malaysia to come to a happy agreement at a reasonable price, for us to continue buying water from them. Okay, so this is a infographic giving you some of the information about the key points in terms of chronology, which you learn in history, right, of our water agreements. Okay, other countries, right, that desert countries like Kuwait, right, they also have international agreements, right, to buy water from one another, from other countries like Serbia. So Kuwait actually buys quite a bit of water from Serbia. Okay, why is Serbia able to do this? Because Serbia has a lot of mineral springs. So they have large amounts of water reserve. They are able to then sell this out to other countries. Right. Key advantage. Although there are there are advantages listed here. One of the key advantages is, of course, money lah. Okay, so always remember the third one that is here. This is very, very important. Actually, it generates income for the exporter country. So in terms of Kuwait and Serbia actually earns a lot of money because they sell water out. In terms of Malaysia and us, for all the complaints that you read in the press about Malaysia saying that we pay them too little, they get the water for free. Okay, anything you get for free and can sell for money, right? You make a net profit. Okay, so keep that in mind. The exporting country, the country that sells, will always earn income. Okay, importing water means that I have less need for reservoirs to keep our own water. Okay, because I import it, right? I just refine and immediately pipe to the housing. Okay, so I can reduce my water catchment. Okay, so this is important in the case of Singapore, not because we don't want to have reservoirs. Okay, it's because the reservoirs take up precious space that we don't have. So our land is very limited, and by using the land for reservoirs, you're actually losing, suffering costs. Okay, opportunity costs for using the land for other things, be it industries. You build another Hyundai factory to produce even more electric cars in Singapore and earn for more money. Let Apple come in and produce iPads in Singapore, right? These are all key things, or even let Moderna come in and make medication, right? New mRNA antiviral drugs, right? So these are things that need land, and if you reserve the land for reservoirs, you're not going to be able to use the same land for all these other forms of money earning ventures. So it's important in terms of advantage. Freeing up land is important as well. Okay. Disadvantages: agreements will expire, agreements end. Nobody signs the agreement that states forever and ever. Okay, it doesn't work in the real world. So nothing is forever. When your agreements expire, you need to then rethink when you can re-sign a contract before it expires, and these are all issues that may crop up time and again. Okay. Second one is what happens when you have a drought in the exporting country and the importing country, right? So if, for example, Malaysia has been hit by a very severe drought together with Singapore, because we're very near one another, right? We have signed a contract with Malaysia, but don't the Malaysian government have a responsibility to their own people? So when you are both facing a case where there's no water, who is going to get the water? Okay, so this drought is very important. It causes a lot of the conflict, potential conflict as well, and a lot of disagreement, because on one side you have signed a treaty, an agreement, a legally binding agreement to continue selling water regardless, but on the other side your own people are also so why would you sell the water that you have to another country when your own people needs the water. Okay, so this is very important. Right, finally also your importer country is become okay, let's rephrase this. Your importing country becomes very dependent on the exporter. Like Singapore, when we didn't have new water, we were very, very dependent on Malaysia. Okay, to the point where it's a very uneven relationship, and they are able to exert this water issue in our face, and unfairly threaten us at times with this as a bargaining chip. So this is not fair. But it is what it is. You need their water. So this is one of the key problems with buying water and using purchased water or importing water as your not even the main source of water for your people, but one of the key sources of water for your people. This is always going to be a danger and a problem. Right. So with that, we come to the end of this Sec 1 topic 4 on water. So if you do need to review any part of the video, please go back, rewatch this video, rewatch the other video in the series, and hopefully you can then attempt your assignment, your summary assignment, and gain a better understanding of this. So the next lesson, we should be moving on to chapter 5. Okay, chapter 5 in preparation for end of the year exam. All right.